still loading.
Anyone else when the opposite trail to trail, I'm not the least compelled by anyone but yourself. You give me a mix of melt. I know you wanna see me help my love. I'm doing what the gods are dealt. Why you dancing with somebody else?
Newcastle United.
Get in, a victory, an away victory for Newcastle. Welcome, one and all. This is New Year's Eve, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are about to talk about the game from last night from Burnley versus Newcastle United, an away victory for Newcastle. But before we do, and we wish you Happy New Year as well, of course, wherever you are in the world or wherever time you're watching this throughout the day. How are you boys? Pete, I'll go to you first. What does brandy and orange juice taste like this hour of the morning?
No brandy and orange juice for me. Cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Piece of toast. I'm having my breakfast as we talk. I'm all good. Woke up feeling positive today. On all fronts, personal and obviously football related too. So woke up feeling positive. So it's nice to be on with you boys, on with a match reaction, talking about 3 points in the bag, an away win for a change. And let's roll, people. Let's roll. Ready to
let's
talk.
roll is what is right, people. We are privileged to have with us to this morning John Ruddy. John Ruddy, everyone. Here he is, live in your living room. How are you, Chris?
I love that, mate. I'm good, mate. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to seeing the back of 2025. It's been a difficult year, and I'm looking forward to 2026. But it's nice for Newcastle to be able to sign off with 3 points. Was it pretty at times? No. But the most important thing was getting those 3 points, and particularly away from home, because getting 3 points away from home has not been very easy this season. Loads and loads of positives to talk about. And yeah, on a personal level, I'm absolutely fine, apart from I've pulled something in my back in the last 20 minutes. I don't know how, but I'm sure I'll be fine. Dazzler, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Looking forward to talking about this now. Great to get our victory last night, but it's New Year's Eve. I think we talked about this. We don't really do much. The three of us on New Year's Eve, we don't really go out late. So we'll start this early. Then can have a clear run at the day. But if you are happen to go out later on, have a great night out and see off 2025 in style. Talking about in style, let's look at this game. That's what we're here to talk about. So this was the team news for Newcastle and a few changes. Popey comes back in. Wissa starts. J7 starts. And Barnes starts on the right. Any surprises? I know we didn't get to do a big match preview, boys, but any surprises on the team news? Pete?
Yeah. a few surprises in there. Pope being back in was a surprise, positive one. I think by the time this game rocked around, most people were calling for Nick Pope to start, so it was nice to see him in there. Really nice to see Yoane Wissa start. We said he probably should have started at Man United, and we wanted him in the starting lineup for the game at Old Trafford. So it was either going to be one or the other that he was starting. He was always going to start one of these two games. So nice to see him actually starting that front line. Joelinton being in the starting lineup. I mentioned in the match reaction to the Man United game, I thought he came on and did all right. I thought he did okay against Man United. So seeing that midfield three back together again was an air of confidence, because Jacob Ramsey didn't play well against Man United. He wasn't good at all. I would probably justified him coming out the team. And then the surprise one for me, boys, is Harvey Barnes on the right. We've talked about Harvey Barnes on the right. He'll give it his all, but it's not really his position. And I thought Jacob Murphy, albeit not great away from home, would maybe start there. So that was probably the biggest surprise to me than for everything in those changes. Everyone else is kind of how I expected it, to be honest. So they're the main ones for me. But I don't know about you, Chris. I don't know if you thought the same, surprised at anything else in terms of the lineup.
Yeah, I suppose the biggest surprise, mate, like you, was wing. I wasn't expecting Harvey Barnes to start right wing. You could argue, when I was looking at the team, I thought in terms of availability, that's probably our strongest 11. I would say, if you're not counting players in certain positions, you're just looking at personnel. Your strongest 11 that are fit and available, that is probably your strongest 11 at the moment. So yeah, I mean, it was great to see the midfield three back in place once again. Lewis Hall, massively important to this team at the moment. But yeah, I had no qualms, especially with the goalkeeper change. I think that was needed, and that was proved. I think throughout the game, which I'm sure we'll touch upon. But yeah, no issues with the lineup for me. And it was nice to see Yoane Wissa getting his first Premier League start.
And of course, the surprising thing as well, when you mentioned Barnes there, lads, is that Elanga, if I recall, wasn't even on the bench. No. So no sign of Elanga at all. But let us get into that. And this is the Burnley team as well. Let's talk about the game. So kick off, and straight away, after 1 minute, Gordon, give and go with Fabian Schär, turns his man and crosses. J7 sticks out a foot, and it goes across the goal. 1-0 Newcastle. What a start. Well played, Anthony Gordon. But you might have forgotten what that looked like. So, do you want to watch it?
Ooh, that's far away.
Let's stop it there. Boys, that was the goal. Pete, we'll go to you first. Thoughts on J7's goal as he welcomes back to the team?
Yeah, but before we get into the goal, we definitely need that Joelinton knee slide in our intro. That's brilliant. I love it. I love the emotion in it. And you know what?
Our knee slide's not banned. I remember Frank Chipper, the reliable journalist Frank Chipper, said they're outlawed now. That's the thing, isn't it?
Apparently not. Apparently they're the players are rebelling against
I like
Chipper.
No better man.
Frank Chipper, you got a battle on your hands there. That's for sure. But no, you could tell what it meant to Joelinton. That a really good goal, really well worked goal. Lovely ball out wide from Fabian Schär. You want to see from your wingers. You want to see your wingers twisting and turning, going one way or another. Carl Walker's no kind of sort of shrinking violet, really. Although he's kicking on now, he's a good fullback, and he got absolutely rinsed by Gordon there. And you know what? Was really pleasing. It was a superb finish from Joelinton. What was really pleasing from that is that a player making a run to the front post.
Yeah,
we've missed that so much. The amount of balls that we put into the box that go near post, and we've got nobody making the run there ever. And it was really nice to see Joelinton be in that position, front post, to be in line to be able to connect onto that. Gordon doesn't get the assist because of the deflection on it, but Joelinton's there, and it's a lovely finish. It really, really is. It's a really difficult finish. Probably the only place in the goal that he could put it in order to beat the goalkeeper, and it's a lovely hook strike into the net. And as I said before, just goes to show how much that meant to Joelinton. Joelinton's got a lot of stick recently, more so from me than anybody else, particularly back end of last season into this season. So it was really nice to see him pop up with a goal and to see what it meant to him. And it's a dream start. If you're asking any of us going into that game, what do you want to see? Early goal, early intensity press, attacking intent. We got all of that, and it was a superb finish. So dream start for Newcastle United, and absolutely buzzing. Barely got him. Barely sat down. Barely poured the brandy into the glass, and already celebrated.
Thank you, Pete. Chris, I think everyone in the chat wants to know, where were you? What have Lisa got you doing at that time? Or did you see the goal?
Do you know what, mate? Things are a little bit easier now because we've got our new couches and the recliners. So my seat was fully reclined. So for me to do anything, it would take a good 5-10 seconds. At that point, legs are up. I was going to say legs akimbo. That's terrible, that, isn't it? Legs were up, and I was sitting back enjoying the game. And I was there front and centre for that one, mate. It was a fantastic finish, and one that we don't see all that often, particularly from players like Joelinton, because it was such like a calm and measured finish. It was a really, really, really smart finish, and Martin Dúbravka couldn't do anything about it. You could see how frustrated he was, given it was so early on that we'd already got the ball in the back of his net. But no, great finish, and as Pete mentioned, great to see Anthony Gordon actually try and take his man on. I think he sent Walker to his left, then his right, gets the ball in. I've seen a few comments. I thought it was a bit bitter, when people are going, "Oh, I don't know if I give him the assist because it took a deflection," and it's like, no, the ball went in the box, and Anthony Gordon put the ball into the box, and Joelinton improvised very, 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 very well, very, very cutely, and it was a great start to the game and a really smart finish.
Smart finish is right, but we didn't have to wait long, boys, for a second, because after 6 minutes, Wissa has the ball in the back of the net. Bit of a scramble with a few Newcastle attempts. Wissa made sure of it with his second attempt to make it 2-0. VAR check then looked at a potential foul by Bruno, giving a little nudge to the defender, but nothing given there, and the goal stands 2-0 Newcastle. Pete, we'll go to you again. Thoughts on the second?
You know what? We played some really good football up until that point. I know it was still really early on, but we looked really, really good. Like little passages of play, short passing, intricate passing in there, and it's a really well worked goal. And one of the things that we probably ask, Harvey Barnes isn't the right winger, but what we ask for our wingers, particularly the right winger, so Murphy Alanga, when you get into that position, take a shot, pop a shot off, because if the goalkeeper saves it, it's going to parry out. And this is why we paid 55 million for this man, is because he's going to pop up in the box when you need him in areas where it's going to get him on the score sheet. And really good shot from Harvey Barnes, really make the goalkeeper work. Decent save, calamity of errors from the goalkeeper and the defender. I can't remember. Someone mentioned about it possibly being a foul. I don't know if it was. I don't know if I saw it.
I think it was me.
Yeah,
I didn't even celebrate. I didn't even celebrate because I was like, it's foul.
Yeah, I didn't see where I could not see where the foul was. I had no idea like when I saw it, and it obviously must have been from you, I was thinking, what foul? Like I didn't see it. Obviously on the replay, we were referring to Bruno.
So Bruno comes up behind to challenge the defender, but the defender's back is fully facing front, and Bruno just goes in the back of him and just goes bump, and the player flies. Now he's a bit dramatic with it.
Yeah.
But I'm just majorly surprised that VAR didn't go foul, because we saw, didn't we, the Chalobah tackle on if you can call it a tackle, the Chalobah challenge on Gordon. The Bruno one was worse than that. Like far worse, because his back is fully facing, and Bruno goes right in the back. Other than putting his hand on him, which he didn't, he just goes like that and nudges, and you can see the player move off it. And I thought, it's foul. It's foul.
Well, one thing is for clear is that the PGMOL need to stay the hell away from Newcastle United. So I think after that absolute shower of with that Chelsea decision. I don't think Newcastle United need to be touched for a while now with regards to any potential controversial decisions, especially with the club contacting the PGMOL around that as well. So no, it's a fair point. I didn't see it. I personally didn't think it was a foul at all. That was just me. I thought it's one of them. Is it a push? Is it easing the player off the ball, which is allowed? Doesn't matter whether it's in the box or not. Anyway, the ball falls. Bruno gives the little kick that opens up the ball, and Wissa's there. This is what we need. This is what we've missed this season, and this is why we paid the money for a Yoane Wissa. He's different to Nick Voltemada. He is a fox in the box. He is a poacher. He can do the stuff outside the box, but he's a poacher, and he'll pop up in areas that Nick Voltemada, for as good as he is, just isn't that type of striker, isn't kind of programmed yet in that way. And Yoane Wissa up there, it takes two bites at the cherry, a good stop on the line. I think it might have been Kyle Walker or somebody else anyway. Comes back out, smashes it into the net. And yeah, you know what? I'm really, really glad Yoane Wissa scored. That won't be the last time that we see Yoane Wissa score a goal like that. I think you're going to see a lot more of goals like that being scored by him between now and the end of the season, and he will rack up a really good number of goals for us doing exactly that. So brilliant to see. You want your strikers scoring and putting those types of balls into the net. He's been derived of service really in the games that he's played for Newcastle, off the bench or starting. So happy days all round, boys. Happy days all round. And another gift from our previous goalkeeper, Martin Dúbravka. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. And yeah, well, we will. You're right, Pete. We'll see it 13 more times from Wissa, because I set him a target of 15. He's got 2 down, 13 to go. Chris, your thoughts on Wissa's goal, and you can even go in a bit more on the little nudge from Bruno.
Yeah. I just thought it was. I just thought it was funny as soon as it went in. Like I said, I didn't even celebrate. I was like, yeah, it's foul. They're not going to give that. They're not going to give that. And then VAR has hold of it for a couple of minutes. And I was just convinced. I mean, people were talking offside, and it's like, no, it wasn't offside. I just thought the foul, and then when the ref gave it, I was like, wow. But I'd take it. Absolutely, I'd take it. But yeah, going back to what Pete was saying there, it's so nice, isn't it, to see your striker in and around things in the thick of the action. And that's exactly what Yoane Wissa was bought for. A Callum Wilson replacement. And that's exactly what he is. I thought Yoane Wissa did really well for the goal. He's on his toes. He's looking for it. He's waiting for any opportunities, and that's exactly what he did. Similar, I think it was to the Fulham goal that he scored in the cup. He gets a deflection, but he's making the move into the box. He's ready. He's waiting, and then he just puts it away. But yeah, really, really smart finish from Yoane Wissa. And 2-0, boys. You're on cloud 9 at that point, aren't you? Because I think it was that minute 8 or something, or minute 7, something like that.
6 minutes.
Yeah. So it's mega early. And yeah, I was buzzing at this point. And my mates had said to me pre-match, they said, "Oh, you'll to put it in their terms, you'll slap Burnley tonight." They were convinced that we were gonna absolutely demolish Burnley. I didn't hold quite as much confidence, I'll be honest. But yeah, they said that they thought we'd comfortably see off Burnley. But But yeah, great to go 2-0 up. Lads showing loads of confidence early doors, and yeah, I'm buzzing at this point.
Right, well, then Newcastle slapped the wall of 5-4-1 when they were out without the ball. Burnley tried to get back into the game. We got to the 22nd minute, and in a rare Burnley chance, and a volley past Nick Pope. Nick Pope's right. Laurent with the ball in the net. VAR had a look at for a potential offside, but it wasn't to be. It was 2-1. Newcastle winning 2-1, but Burnley back in the game. Where was the marker for Laurent, though, boys? And thoughts on their goal?
Did you really want to go there this early in the morning?
Well, I think we have to beat. That's what we're here for.
Well, okay, that's fine. Well, your marker for Laurent is pissing up the other end of the pitch because you don't want to bother to defend. This is a myth. Right, I'm sorry. This is a myth that this winger, this left winger of ours, Mr. Anthony Gordon, is all action and runs all day for you and defends really well for your team, because I ain't seen it for a year. I'm sorry. He does not work hard off the ball defensively anymore. He did it in his first full season at Newcastle United. He does not do it, and he hasn't done it for a while. So this is a myth for me that Anthony Gordon does his defensive duties, because he absolutely doesn't. And it's also a myth that Harvey Barnes doesn't do his defensive duties, because I've seen him defending his fullback a lot more than I've seen Anthony Gordon do the same. And that's the reason why the goal's in there. Because, and I said this on the match reaction as well to Man United, Daz, if you remember, there was some people saying about Lewis Hall. And one or two in the chat were kind of calling Lewis Hall, saying, "Oh, he hadn't done very well." And I was like, "Well, he was literally doing two men's job down that left-hand side against Man United, and he was having to do the same again. He's having to mark his own man, knowing that there's a man behind him. So he attempts to win the header. He doesn't win it, and that's fine. He can't win them all. He does win more than he loses, by the way, in aerial duels. Does Lewis Hall? But then you've got to be able to trust that your winger is going to do his defensive duties and be there. I don't put any blame on Lewis Hall in that moment. He's done what he's supposed to do as a fullback. I don't put any blame. And I have to be honest, I saw a few people online blaming Nick Pope for not saving that. It's not Nick Pope's fault. It's a great strike. It's a really lovely strike, and it's a good goal that they scored. Well, I've got no qualms about that. There's nothing Nick Pope can do about that, right? But you've got to question, where's your marker? We were quite rightly questioning Jacob Ramsey on Friday night for not doing his defensive duties in marking Dorgu for the goal that they effectively won the game for. It's only right that we do the same. Where's your left winger tracking back and doing your job? Wasn't doing it. Not good enough. Not for the first time either. Okay? Starting to get too big for his boots, this man is. Thinking that he can do what he wants when he wants. Oh, I'll defend when I want to. I'll stay up when I want to. Not having it. Poor. Really, really poor, and it let us down. But I have to say, boys, the goal aside, it did turn into classic Newcastle United, what we've seen this season. We go 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, oh, let's go for the throat. We should be going for the throat. We should be going right. These are on you know, if you're a Burnley fan, in your mind, you're thinking this is game done at 2-0. We ain't getting back in this. They don't really score many goals, right? And we should be going, let's go for the throat. Let's get our goal difference up. Let's get 3. Let's get 4. Let's get 5. And we just sit back. You've got Yoane Wissa sitting on his 18-yard box for the next 10 minutes after that, after going 2-0 up. That's not right. That ain't right. What is going on there? Seriously. Anyway, you could see it coming from a mile away because they started piling on a bit of pressure. And, yeah, for me, head in hands going, here we go again.
Ruddy hell, Chris. Are you sticking with the goalkeeper union saying it's not Popey's fault? Or are you throwing the man from Liverpool to the Wolves here?
Oh, mate, it wasn't Nick Pope's fault. It just wasn't. So first and foremost, as Pete's already mentioned, it was a good finish. It was a good finish. The frustration was he's come from midfield and nobody's tracking him. Now, Lewis Hall, some people will say that it was Lewis Hall's fault. Lewis Hall was defending in the box, and this player came from the right-hand side, our left-hand side, and nobody tracked him. Nobody tracked him. And that's the big issue. And I'm sure it's probably a part of a bigger conversation. Pete's already touched on it, but I think it's part of a bigger conversation we'll have later on. But yeah, it was disappointing. The biggest thing for me was, which again Pete's mentioned, it's the fact that when we went 2-0 up, we just sat in so deep. That needs to stop. Now, I don't know, we've discussed this before, haven't we? Is it a player's mentality thing? Is it a tactics thing? Now, for people saying it's a mentality thing, that's fine. But the job of the manager is to say to the players, get out. Because this can't happen every game. And Eddie Howe is, unable, to tell his players to get out. If this is a mentality thing, it's up to Eddie Howe to say to his players, boys, this does not happen. You're going to have to stop doing it. And when and he should be screaming on the touchline, get out, because all we're doing is just inviting the pressure. Again, what Pete mentioned earlier, I think I put it in the chat. Vissa was sitting on the edge of the 18-yard box. We're 2-0 up after 6 minutes. It's like, what are we doing? So we're gonna do that for the remaining 84 minutes. Is that the game plan? Like, what's going on? There's no reason for us to sit that deep. Fine if it's I don't know, say it's the last 10 minutes of the game and we're in the second leg. Let's imagine Carabao Cup. We're playing Man City. We've just gone 2-0 up. We're 2-1 up on aggregate and there's 5 minutes left to go. By all means, do that. That's fine. But 84 minutes, you're away from home against a pretty, no offence, a pretty poor Burnley side. What are you looking to achieve? All you're going to do is just build their momentum, give them a little bit of hope. Oh, we can attack Newcastle. Oh, Newcastle's sitting deep. Let's get bodies forward. Now, some people will say it's a plan, to kind of to get them on the counter. We don't need to do that because the previous 6 minutes we didn't do that. So why are we reverting to type and trying that? We're 2-0 up. There's no need to do it. Sit higher up. I mean, how many times, boys, did you see? And this isn't just yesterday. This is throughout the season. How many times did you see our defenders almost, not too far away from the halfway line, and the team are pushed forward, and we look more of an attacking threat? I'm not suggesting we go gung ho and lash everybody up front, but move further up the pitch to squeeze the space. Don't sit back and give the opposition the whole pitch and give them time, to play the ball down. And then you've got Yoane Wissa at the spear of it. So we go into either a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1, and Yoane Wissa's just running miles, just wasting energy for no reason whatsoever. Anthony Gordon's not doing the press. Harvey Barnes trying his best to do the press, but it's pointless because we're too far back, we're too deep. And I just don't understand why we do it game after game after game after game. It's I just don't get it. I don't get it.
You know what, Chris? It's there's no cohesion at the moment. Particularly, you talk about that press. There's no cohesion in the way that the team is set up because we should be pressing high. That was what we were built on. Even with Fabian Schär and Sven Botman. When we got Champions League football, neither were rapid quick, but we played high, and we trusted those boys to get back in and do the job, and we pushed them high. We've got Malik Chow now, who is quick on the transition and can get back in and recover. So it should be even more encouragement to play higher up, and the team seems to be quite disjointed. We have the centre backs that drop off far too deep. The midfield that pushes far too high. And then what you find is, and this happened 3, 4, maybe even 5 times in the first half, is that Burnley will beat the press in one pass because you've got Tonali pushing up, you've got Bruno pushing up, you've got Joelinton pushing up. There's one pass through, and then it was Marcus Edwards on about 3 or 4 occasions in the first half that they beat the press, and then they're in. And there's about a 10-yard, 15-yard gap between the midfield and the defensive line, and then they're on the counter, and they're on the counter constantly, and it shouldn't be happening. There needs to be a cohesion there. If we're going to push up, we push up as a team and push high, and we stay high. the other thing is the cohesion in the attacking front line. There's no cohesion. So you talked about Yoane Wissa running back and forth. People were saying in on social media about Yoane Wissa looking tired and that he weren't doing much running. Yoane Wissa was pressing on his own for a lot of that first half, facing 2-3 men, right? And that should not be happening because Newcastle United at its best had cohesion. They would all press together. So going historically, it was Isak and Murphy together. Gordon would be whipping round on that left-hand side and they'd be pressing as a cohesive three.
A unit, yeah.
They press individually now. So you've got Gordon pressing the left and then sometimes does press and pushes the front man or like the furthest defender, which should be Wissa's job. But he's then doing that job. The ball gets played over to the left and then they've got the outboard and then they're gone because he's pressing too much. There needs to be an understanding of who's pressing where, and when we press together. Because if you press individually, it don't work. The whole thing falls apart. And that's part of the problem. When we do press cohesively, we win the ball back. And we did it a couple of times in the first half. We worked and pressed together, won the ball back, bang, straight on the counter. So there's an understanding there. The argument will be, is it the manager? Because you mentioned, you know, it's maybe down to the manager. And it is. And Eddie Howe has said this. He's been asked this by the journalist. You know, why do the team sit deep? You know, is that a tactical plan? And he says no. He said it's not a tactical plan. So then you've got to think to yourself,
get them up.
Why are the players doing it? Why? But why are the players doing it? Because yes, the manager should be getting them up, and I've got no doubt that him or Tyndall are telling them to get up. But why are they're doing it for a reason? They must be doing it, and the players need to manage themselves as professional players, as players, Premier League level players. They shouldn't need a manager literally spoon feeding them through the match. You shouldn't need that constant get up, get up, get up. Some managers do it, not many do. And they should be able to do it themselves. They should be able to manage themselves. I think there's a lack of, it might come into a bigger conversation, maybe after we've covered the game with regards to it. I think there's a reason why the players, certain players in the team are doing this. And we'll maybe talk about it in a bit, but there are some fundamental problems here as to why we are suffering, you know, in strong positions, while we're just gifting teams back away back into the game.
Well, we had to go there, but that's probably all the negativity that you'll hear. Maybe a bit more, but mostly positive from now on. But there's about nearly 150 in the chat. Smash that like button. And if you missed the start, Happy New Year. Right, let us continue on in the game, where at this stage we are 2-1 up. 28 minutes, Wissa hits the side netting all alone from the Bruno corner. He should have finished it. That was kind of following on from the bit of cuddles, really, between J7 and Kyle Walker. But both each receiving a yellow card for that. 31 minutes, J7 wins a free kick in a dangerous position. Who takes it? Shar or Anthony Gordon? Then in the end, Shar passes it to Gordon and it comes to nothing. Again, wasteful with these free kicks. 38. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Can I just say, I love it, and you know, it makes me laugh every time. You know, when we get a free kick about 20, 25 yards out, Anthony Gordon always picks it up, doesn't he? And he's like, and you could just see the players come over and they're like, fuck off, mate. No chance. No chance. And I said to Lisa yesterday, I was like, why has Gordon got hold of the ball? And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, there's no way he's taken that free kick. There's no way. No way at all. And then in the end, I don't know if it was that one, Fabian Schär did like a little back heel to him, and then it got played out, and it was just like, what the was that? What was that? Have a crack on goal, or at least hit it forwards. I just I was questioning the set piece coach then at that point, because I thought, what are we doing here? Yeah. Why
isn't Tonali involved in it's very rare he gets a chance to take a free kick.
That's Chris. There's a fundamental problem in this team. Honestly, we don't have any good set piece takers. We like when Trippier, people have questioned Trippier, but Trippier as a set piece, like he is close to a set piece expert as we've got in this current team. Tonali for me, isn't a set piece taker. He's had a few already. They've been absolutely honking. And I'm talking free kicks, by the way. Shaw has scored a couple previously. It wasn't the right angle for a right winger.
No,
I'll be honest. I was fully expecting Lewis Hall to have a crack at it because it was built for a left-footed player to hit that, and he is not necessarily a set piece specialist, but at 21 years old, you'd want him to be working towards that because you see the longevity in his game, and it's something that he could build and develop on. I imagine that at 21 years old, Trippier wasn't necessarily a set piece specialist, but he would have probably built himself into be that. He takes the
corners, doesn't he?
Yeah. I would have preferred him to have a crack. Fabian Shaw scored a few, but he's had a few honkers recently as well. Gordon, I don't want anywhere near set pieces, if I'm being honest with you. Penalties, he's worked on, and that's fine. You know my thoughts on it. I'd much prefer Nick Baltimore to be taking them if he's on the pitch. But there's a fundamental issues that we don't have anyone that can actually take a set piece, and it needs to be part of the thinking for players that come in. It really does. Like, have we got someone that is of the ability, but someone that can actually add to our game? Because we've got the height and we've got the physicality, and we've got the fundamentals to be a really good set piece team. But you've got to have quality of delivery, and we just don't seem to have it. It's a real issue. It really is.
No, it is. You never know. We might do something about that in January. 38 minutes. Barnes played through by Bruno. Barnes then tries to lift it over Dubs. No joy there. Dubs does well, in fairness, keeping that one out. 40 minutes. Gordon loses it, and Newcastle in trouble. He's back close to his own goal when he does lose it. It's well blocked first by Tonali, and then it's cleared off the line by Fabian Schär to keep it 2-1 heading to as we head to half time. Boys, Anthony, you want to say at half time first before we move on?
Just glad to get in at half time. Still in the lead more than anything, because we really did sort of gift them back the game, probably up until sort of like the four. It's really weird, like up until sort of like the 40th minute, we just kind of let them come back into the game, and we managed to wrestle a little bit more control back just before half time. But it was a case of, at that point, it was like, right, get them back in at half time, still 2-1 up, and let's kind of regroup again. That was my thoughts, but there were some good things in that first half that we've already talked about in the build up to the goal, etc. I thought, you know what, going into that half time, I was really, really pleased to see Joelinton look something of himself again. And I'm not saying he was amazing by any stretch of the imagination in that first half, but I saw fundamentals of why we love Joelinton in this team. Is it was all action. He was all like he was aggressive in everything that he did. He was pressing hard. He was battling. He did get that yellow card, which was a little bit silly, but I like the fact that he was willing to go to war for Newcastle United and for the team. I know Daz will come back in a second. I know Joelinton. He was willing to go to war for the team. And we've missed that. Chris, you remember in the derby where they're all kind of handbags right at the end of the game, and they're all kind of pushing and shoving, and no one was really backing each other up. It was all very kind of like negative in itself, and no one really wanted to do the arguing or the fighting. I liked the fact that Joelinton was willing to back his players up, and he was pushing and shoving, and we had that little bit of bite back in our team again, because in games like that, you need it. So I was really pleased to see that from Joelinton, and that was kind of one of my real sort of positive takes, really, going into that half time.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Pete, because Lisa said to me, she was like, "What's Joe doing?" And I was like, "No, this is what he does. This is what he does." He was just ruffling some feathers, because I mean, it was a pointless yellow, and I must say, I thought Kyle Walker was very unlucky to get his yellow, because you could see him saying to the referee, "I haven't done anything," because Joelinton was just kicking off on him and just pushing him and shoving him, but we need that bite back, don't we? I'm all for that, Pete. I like a bit of that. I like to see, a bit of passion, a bit of hustle and bustle, and almost just trying to let players know I'm here. And particularly as well, let's not forget, boys. We know that Bruno in the previous fixture had scored from a corner kick, so you could see what he was trying to do. He was just trying to unsettle that back line. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it that chance when the ball finally came in after they'd done the yellows? Wasn't that the chance where Yoane Wissa had the free header at the back post? So clearly, there was reason for doing it. Should have done far better with that header, by the way. But
it's a sitter, mate.
Yeah, but no, I love all that, and that is what Joelinton brings in abundance, isn't it? That's what he brings, and we have missed that to a degree. And remind me, boys, at the end of the game, I'll talk to you about it when we finish the review. But there was a moment at the end of the game, and I thought that was quite telling for me. But anyway, carry on. But yeah, I was pleased. First half performance, I felt we were fortunate to go in at 2-1 in the end, which sounds mental. But that was our own doing. Really, we should have been out of sight at half time. But as it turned out, I take it going into the second half. The only thing that concerned me, which is quite a common theme now, is what are we going to get second half? That's all I kept thinking. What are we going to get second half? Is this going to be another Chelsea game where we just come out and we just don't turn up? And that's what was concerning me.
Well, let me tell you what we're getting second half, because early corners from Burnley and counter-attacks were on the menu for that second half. Lewis Hall, who did get a knock on the ankle in the first half, he goes down again on the 51st minute. He's down holding the ankle. Alex Murphy is ready to join the fold if needed. It looked like he was coming on at one stage. But Lewis Hall comes back on the pitch again and carries on, hobbling for a bit. But 55 minutes, we're under pressure now at this stage. 55 minutes, a good save from Popey. 55 minutes again, Barnes feeds Gordon, who should have at least hit the target, but he skies it. 58 minutes, another save from Pope. Hall is hobbling around. He's no pace with the ankle. Again, we're at this stage where we're building our own chat, boys, shouting, starting making the subs, because Newcastle are under pressure. Pope claws another one away with a looping shot on 59 minutes. 60 minutes, then Burnley off the bar. Make the switch, Eddie. We're all over the place at present.
Mate, we were all just screaming, where's the fucking subs? Yes. Where's the fucking subs? You put it in the chat. Pete put it in the chat. I was messaging as well. We were all just like, make a fucking change. Just make a change. And then the change that he makes, it's just a like for like. And it's like, no, the midfield needs changing. It's the midfield that's the issue. It's not the wingers as such, even though they did need freshening up. It was like, it's the centre of the park. But bring on Jacob Ramsey. Do something. Something needs to change. But
we were on the road. We were on the road big time.
Oh, mate, we were. I wouldn't have even minded, just a little bit of inventiveness. Even if he took off a central midfielder, brought on Leo Shahar or something, and put Louis Miley into the midfield. Something needed changing. I appreciate that we were lacking a little bit in terms of personnel, and you could see that from the bench. And maybe Leo Shahar would have been a bit of a risk, but just try something different, because what it didn't need was a like-for-like replacement on the wing, because we're getting dominated in the middle of the pitch. So something needs to change in the middle of the pitch. Mental.
100%, because we're all shouting for where the subs now. This is the 60th match. 67 minutes, another chance from Burnley. Tuna with the one with the header over. 71 minutes, then Eddie does start to make a change, and as like you said, Chris, it is like for like. That phrase we don't like anymore. Barnes off, Murphy on. 77 minutes. Malik Chow has one cleared off the line as his header loops over Dubs. 78 minutes. Murphy with a gifted opportunity. Lewis Hall is a great run. He's back. His ankle is looking better at this stage now. A nice 1-2 at Wissa. Murphy with an open goal puts it over the bar. There is talk that it might have been offside if it had gone in, but he should have hit the target. Murphy coming on didn't do much when he came on, in fairness, again, and playing away. 79 minutes. Wissa off, Walter Mada on. Gordon off, Ramsey on. And Newcastle then trying to slow the game down and see this out. 87 minutes. J7 with a little trip. Lucky that the ref keeps the second yellow in his pocket. We've got to the 92nd minute now, boys, and we've a fuck up from Burnley. Dubs gives the ball away. Friend of the channel, friend of Pete Davey. Dubs gives the ball away. It gives an opportunity to Bruno, who we have Ruddy. All the goalkeepers are friends and stuff loaded, aren't they? Bruno lobs the ball over 3 players and into the back of the net. Boom. But lads, I think you want to see it again, don't you? Let's see it again. I think there's only one place to start there. Pete, all the praise you gave of Martin Dúbravka through the years. Would you like to give him a bit more praise?
Yeah. Look, it's what I keep saying. Dúbravka doing Dúbravka things. He loves the club. You know he loves the club. He never wanted to leave. And that's just the parting gift from Martin Dúbravka right there. One of 2 parting gifts for Newcastle United. It just what else could I possibly say? It's dreadful goalkeeping, absolutely dreadful goalkeeping. He literally, it should say underneath Bruno Guimaraes' name for goal scorer, assist Martin Dúbravka. Because that's what it was. It was a great pass. It was a great pass. Pass through the defender into the path of Bruno Guimaraes. One touch out of his feet and lobs him. It's a lovely goal. I'll be honest, lads. I was just full of relief when that ball hit the back of the net. It was like at that moment, it was almost like game over, done, 3 points in the bag, and it was just sheer relief seeing that go in. But the important thing about this goal is Mr. Captain Clutch, Bruno Guimaraes. What an effective season this man is having for Newcastle United as captain of the club. When we need someone to turn up and make a difference, Bruno Guimaraes is doing just that. I thought it was very, very good last night. During the game, I thought he was a little bit quieter in the first half than he was in the second half, but I still think he was good and he was making connections, winning the ball back, really all action. But it's his drive to ensure that we win matches and we get goals and we get points on the board. He always seems to turn up in really important moments, and he's having a wonderful season. And he's the one guy really that you can kind of hang your hat on to really get us out of the mess or win us something. It was a lovely goal, really, really well taken goal. And it was just what the doctor ordered. A lovely goal to make it 3-1, to kill the game in itself. And it's always a nice feeling when you see the ball hit the back of the net, to see the away end, which was fantastic, by the way. They were so loud, constantly singing, backing the boys all the way through. But to see those claret and blue seats start to appear is always a good sign that things are going right, because at that point, Burnley given up and Newcastle knew the points were in the bag. And you know what I like, and you only really get to see it in a snapshot, and you might even get to see it in that video of Bruno scoring, is Yoane Wissa jumps out of his seat and he goes to kind of like run onto the pitch to celebrate, and he knows that he can't. But I love him because he's really immersed himself into this team, and he just runs off and he's like, yes, and it means so much to him, and he wants to come on and be a part of it. So there's just loads of little snapshots in there that I liked about that goal. But beautiful finish from Captain Fantastic.
Wissa does have his own little moment with Bruno when he comes on full time, and he like they have their own little celebration thing going there. But you're right. Bruno's magic, hang your hat on him to do the business for us. But Chris, thoughts on Bruno's goal?
Funny enough, that's what I wanted to pick up on, but I will do it at the very end. In terms of Yoane Wissa and the way that he celebrated, particularly at full time with the manager. But yeah, it was just relief more than anything, boys. It was just relief because let's be honest, it was still nervy. It was still in the balance when it's 2-1. You're never quite sure. Martin Dúbravka did us a huge favour. Watched it back a couple of times, and it was just like, Pete, I think you've played in goal a few times as well, haven't you? Like, you clear your lines. Whether there's a defender in front of you, whether the striker's there, it doesn't matter. You just come in like a bulldozer and you just clear your lines. But for some reason, he goes right up to the defender, isn't sure what to do, and just gets a little touch on it. And it's like, well, that doesn't help you, and it doesn't help your defender either. But thankfully, Bruno was on the end of it. Smart finish. Really, really smart finish. It had a little bit of Nick Voltemada against Everton, with the chip, where there was an opportunity for them to just kind of put it into an empty net, and same with Alexander Isak in the previous season against West Ham. It had those vibes to it, where it just chipped over. But it was a really, really smart finish from Bruno, and yeah, you knew the points were wrapped up then. And I think more than anything, it was just a sigh of relief, just a huge sigh of relief, because. Like at that point, you're still not quite sure whether we're going to be definitely bringing home the 3 points, and thankfully we did. So yeah, great moment. Really pleased for Bruno. I mean, what's he on now? Is he on 7 or 8 Premier League goals, something like that?
I think it's six now, is it?
6.
Yeah, I think it's 6 now. He's actually one of the highest goal scoring midfielders, if not the highest goal scoring midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and he's in my fantasy football team. Nice one, Bruno.
Smart.
So is Wissa. But boys, yeah, look, Willa come on. I didn't even see that happening, and J7 went off. But I did like the crowd going, "He's one of our own. He's one of our own. Martin Dúbravka. He's one of our own." I love that from the away fans. And full time, 3-1. Newcastle, an away victory, something positive to take us into the new year. We desperately needed that. I thought J7 was man of the match for me. We were talking about who would let go. If he could play like that every game, J7, you would not be letting him go. He was man of the match for me. And here is the group shot as well, boys. And I do like the touch of the ice bath there, or whatever they're having, with Gordon and Ramsdale sitting in it. But boys, thoughts on the game overall?
Well, look, I think if you're going to reflect on the game, you've got to look at how you want to view it. If you're going to view the game on performance, it wasn't the best. There were moments where there were large moments in the game where we were very, very shaky, and yeah, the performance wasn't what we would have expected it to be against a relegation team. The caveat that I'll throw in with that is that Burnley are very, very difficult to play at Turf Moor. If you look at a lot of teams that have gone there this season, they haven't had it easy. In actual fact, if you look at results, Newcastle United's result in isolation is probably one of the best results there this season, which actually tells you a lot. So they don't make it easy. They are very, very difficult to play at their ground. However, we obviously have higher expectations for our team, so we would expect them to really dominate Burnley and really kind of create lots of chances and potentially score lots of goals. However, that aside, because I don't want to spend too much time on the negatives, to be honest, of the overall performance. What did we say before this game? Must win game. 3 points is an absolute must. And Newcastle United have gone there, scored 3 goals, and won the game. I can't ask any more than that. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to, because we're not playing well enough for me to go there and demand that we dominate for 90 minutes, 75% possession, score 5, 6, 7 goals. I can't. It would be wild for me to expect that. I would want it, but not expect it. So therefore, Am I happy that we took the points? Absolutely. Could things be better? Absolutely. And you know what? Fair play to Eddie Howe at the end of the game. People have questioned Eddie Howe about, dodging certain questions and dodging, opinions about his performance of his team. He was quite open and honest after the game. He said it how it was. He didn't want to focus on the negatives, but he knew his players didn't do enough at 2-0 up. They allowed Burnley back into the game. They sat back. They were far too deep. They were far too passive in their play. The midfield wasn't strong enough. He said all these things. And fair play to him, because he didn't have to say that, but he's calling it out too. He knows it's not good enough. We don't have to keep reminding him. But it obviously needs to be better in this next run of games. And that's going to be his task as a manager, to make sure the performances are better, because we can't keep playing like this, because we will get punished again if we turn up and play like that in games against better teams. But ultimately, we went there, we got the result, we got out of there with 3 points. We're now, for the first time for as long as I can remember, in the top 10. I was talking to one of my mates, Emeka, during the game, and I was at one point we were 9th during the game. And I was thinking, when was the last time we've been in the top 10 this season? I can't remember it. Wow. I can't remember being in the top half this season, which is mad to think. But we're going in the right direction. We could be as high as 7th or 6th in our next game if we take the points against Palace, and things will look potentially a lot different. But I'm happy. An away win, 3 points in the bag, 3 goals, and just a little bit of praise for Nick Pope. Nick Pope's come back into the team. I don't know about you guys, but I feel a lot more relaxed and a lot more comfortable knowing that Nick Pope is in goal, as I did with Aaron Ramsdale. He made 2 or 3 good saves. He was far more commanding of his box. He just looks more of a presence. And I have to say, lads, even though we were a bit ropey, particularly in the second half, I felt that the defenders felt a little bit more comfortable with him behind. And yeah, I thought fair play. He's been out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks with that groin injury, and he's come back in and just took like a duck to water. And yes, we know his limitations. We know he's not good with the ball. He kept it very simple and just hoofed it long. But as long as he's keeping that ball out the net, I don't mind. And I think that's what a lot of Newcastle United fans are feeling right now to Nick Pope, is that, they now realise his limitations, but they also understand how big of a presence he is for Newcastle United. So fair play to Nick Pope. If I'm going to give anyone the praise for that game, I'll give it to him.
Well, that's fair enough, Pete. And I think we all kind of had to go on a journey to realize that about Nick Pope, and also we had to experiment with Ramsdale. Was no point in him coming on loan and us never giving him a game. We had to give him the chance. The injury allowed, and the mess up at Marseille with Nick Pope allowed him his opportunity. But again, it's Pope's now to holds number 1 shirt. It's his to lose. But Chris, Anthony, you'd like to focus in on the game?
So yeah, I wanted to touch earlier, didn't I, boys, on the full time. What I thought was interesting was, obviously, we saw the celebrations from Yoane Wissa when Bruno made it 3-1. But then at full time, you saw Yoane Wissa going absolutely mental, and he's celebrating, big smile on his face, and he's got hold of Eddie Howe and he's bear hugging him. And I don't know what it made me think, but I just kind of thought I want to see that from all the players. Whereas it just felt like Yoane Wissa was the one driving it. Do you know what I mean? And it just made me think, and I don't know whether you boys felt the same or feel the same now mentioning it. It just made me think, where's that hunger? Where's that desire? Where's that camaraderie, if you like? Because it definitely felt like, because Yoane Wissa's new to the squad, he wants to kick on. He's really excited to be here. He's doing incredibly well. He's now back playing, which is the main thing, obviously. I don't know. I just thought you would expect somebody who's new to the team would almost kind of be following suit of other people, but it was Yoane Wissa. He was the one who was really leading those celebrations, if you like. And I don't know. It just made me. I found it quite odd, if I'm being honest, because I thought that shouldn't be from a new player who's yes, he's been in and around the squad for the last few months, but you would think that he would be kind of like following other people. Now, I'm not saying people weren't celebrating. Obviously, we saw Bruno and Joelinton at the end. They were in full voice when we were singing when the fans were singing the songs and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It just made me think: is there a lack of confidence in this squad? Are the squads, is there something going on behind the scenes? I don't know. But in terms of overall, yeah, huge 3 points. Was it a great performance? There was elements. I mean, like obviously the very, very start of the game, it was looking really, really good. I just felt like there was a few wobbles throughout the game. A few players disappointed. A few players I thought were really, really good. Pete is right to highlight Nick Pope. I never thought we'd say this, but we did look more assured with Nick Pope in between the posts. That was huge. I suppose in many ways, boys, it's good that Adam Ramsdale's had his crack. He's had a go, because I think it's abundantly clear that he probably isn't the answer long term. Maybe Eddie Howe knows that as well. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really pleased with the 3 points. I mean, I think you boys feel the same way as me. I can't get these out. I can't put these on, because it's still, I need to see this back to back to back to back. Yeah. And we've got some huge games coming up, which we all know about. And it's about getting a run of games now. I'm sure we'll probably come to the league table shortly, but it just shows how crazy this season is, because you look at the league table and how we are where we are is crazy to me in terms of the points difference between where we are now, which is 10th, I believe, and the top 5. We're still within touching distance, which really, based off how we've played this season, we shouldn't be anywhere near it. But it just shows how inconsistent the league is. And there's only a couple of teams at the moment who are showing that consistency and getting results week in, week out. Well, you could argue maybe 3. But yeah, a really, really big 3 points. I'm hoping it's a huge step in the right direction. But I've been scarred enough in the last 19 games to know that we don't always, do this consistently over a period of games. I hope we do. I really, really hope we do. And, it could build a bit of momentum. It could bring that confidence back, that swagger. It feels like we're missing the swagger, and particularly for a few players, Sandro Tonali being one of them. Like, I don't know what's happened to Sandro Tonali. We spoke about it in the chat, didn't we, boys, that like, Sandro Tonali just looks way off it. Now, is it a confidence thing? Is there a hidden injury? I mean, I would suggest there isn't a hidden injury, because I think he wouldn't be getting as many minutes as he is. But there's something fundamentally wrong with the team, and I don't know what it is. As it happens, it doesn't matter now, and we shouldn't delve too deep into it, because we've got those 3 points. But I just worry that we could be back. We could be back in one of those moments talking about, another missed opportunity or dropping points. And that's what worries me about this Newcastle United team. I turned the telly on last night to start watching the game, and I wasn't thinking we're going to go here and smash these. I just wasn't thinking it. And, we're playing Burnley. So really, we should be turning up full of confidence, knowing we're going to get the 3 points, knowing we're just 90 minutes away from rising up the table. But every game we go into, you're just thinking, is this going to work? I wonder if the players are up for it. I wonder if the players are going to, perform and do what they need to do. That's my overarching feeling today. I'm really pleased with the 3 points. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely delighted that we've managed to, get another win on the board. But now it's just about consistency and making sure we do it week in, week out.
A lot of interesting points there, Chris. A few conspiracy theories as well. For me, we saw hugging Eddie Howe was probably because he's coming out with them out from he's been taken off the pitch in 79 minutes. He's closest to him. I could definitely agree with you on Tonali. He's not looked himself, but he's got things going on as well with his partner, pregnant and blah blah. But that shouldn't interfere with things as well, and not with him on the pitch. And I also agree with you. Yes, Ramsdale. Put him back in the bin. as he is here in the picture, I would go and get a new keeper in. As I said, we need a new keeper. That is not Ramsdale. I wouldn't be signing him. Let's say after the loan. Right, let's look at the table. Let's bring the table up and see where we are. As we said, we are sitting in 10th spot after this round of games. Well, this round of games is not complete. It's only half complete as well. And then that will take us to halfway in the season. But in 10th, we've Crystal Palace next, of course. They have to play tomorrow. Anthony, you want to say on the table, lads?
Weirdly, things are all still up for grabs. I'm looking at the teams above us, and everyone below Chelsea, I'm not worried about. Man United, they're in crisis. If you listen to any Man United fan at the moment, Sunderland are very much hit and miss. I think they've still got a run of where they will drop points between now and the end of the season. I think we're more than capable of finishing above them. We're only a few points behind them, and we're apparently having a nightmare season. We're only a few points behind them, which tells you everything you need to know. Everton, are just not good, but they just turn up every so often and pick up a result, and they're sitting above us. Brentford exactly the same. Like, so you're looking at teams below us, and a few teams have got to play tonight. Palace play Fulham, for example, so one of them is likely to go above us. But you look at like Palace, we're meant to be having a super season, and we're sitting above them in the table currently. Fulham, not necessarily worried about Tottenham. We're meant to be back, and they're sitting below us in the table. Brighton, were super Brighton not long ago. Classic Brighton, do what Brighton do. Have a few good games and everyone bigs them up, and then all of a sudden they just jump off a cliff. And look where they are right now. Bournemouth were European Bournemouth not long ago, and now look where they are in the league. It's crazy how up for grabs this league is. European football, even Champions League in 5th. And look, I'm not saying we're going to get Champions League football, but what I am saying is actually, if we got our asses in gear and we got our act together, we could actually still achieve it. Yeah. That's the mad thing about it, is that we could actually still achieve it, and we could actually still achieve European football if we got ourselves together. And you mentioned, Chris, about the sunglasses. The sunglasses for me aren't coming back for a while now. No. They're not coming back for me for a long while. No. Even if we put a win of 2 or 3 wins together, they're not coming back for me, because at the moment, and I've said it before, I don't know what I'm getting from this Newcastle United team. I don't know what we're getting from game to game. I don't recognise that we're going to turn up and we're going to play this way, and we're going to attack like this, and we're going to defend like this. And if we take a lead, that we're going to hold out, and we're going to be strong, and we're going to guarantee the win. And these are the fundamentals for me that I need to see from this team. And that's the job of the manager, but it's also the job of the players. A lot has been made of the manager, and I understand why. But some of these players are not doing enough. And I didn't get a chance to talk on a couple of players. So I do want to kind of talk about it. I want to talk about the manager as well, because I've got something to say on that. But, you touched on Sandro Tonali, and I'm coming away from the league table for a second here, so excuse me for this. But you talk about Sandro Tonali, and I know, Daz, you mentioned about with Sandro Tonali, it could be family things and this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, for me, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I'm looking at Sandro Tonali. I don't know about people in the chat. I don't know about you guys, but I'm worried about Sandro Tonali. I'm really worried, because this guy for the last year has been on a different level to most players in this football team. And he's proved it for the last year of how good he can be. Some people prove it for 2 weeks, a month, maybe 2. He's done it for a year. So we know the level he can play at consistently. But the drop-off from Sandro Tonali in the last 6 weeks to 8 weeks or so has been scarily worrying for me. Mm. And it's not just the odd bad performance. It's continuously bad performances. Now, I'm not talking about, he's made mistakes and whatever. I'm talking about the lad can't trap a ball. He can't control a ball. He can't make a 10-yard pass. You had I counted 3 times in the first half where Marcus Edwards breaks that press and runs beyond him. And you normally recognize Sandro Tonali as a powerhouse. He like sprints back and he gets back in and he's powering players off the board. I've seen him a couple of times try and push the player over to give away a free kick because he couldn't get back. That's not what I recognize Sandro Tonali in. That's not something being effective outside of the game for me. Like, if you can't trap a ball, if you can't pass a ball, for me, like, that's a massive issue. I'll be honest, he was the worst midfielder of the 3 by some distance last night.
Yeah.
By some distance. And I'm going to be honest, lads, I was calling for him to be subbed. And I don't do that with Sandro Tonali. I was desperate for him to come off. When you're talking about, and we were saying subs now, saying it, me and Emeka in one of the Mags Down South chat, we were by the minute, we were going, right, 61 minutes, no subs. 65 minutes, no subs. It's now 71 minutes, still no subs. What's going on here? Like, and it's like, Sandro needs to be subbed. Get him off. Because he was constantly a problem for this team. And that's a real worry. It's a real worry that he's that. And I'm hoping that Eddie Howe's got his arm around him and is pulling him into the office maybe today and having a conversation saying, right, we need to get to the bottom of what is going on here. And I really hope, a few of the journalists have put it out last night about Sandro Tonali, but I really hope that people will ask Eddie Howe the question on Sandro Tonali at the next press conference, because I need to know from a fan perspective why this is happening, because this is not good. We need Sandro Tonali fit and firing if we're going to achieve our aims of minimum European football. Hopefully, fingers crossed, pray, all the rest of it, Champions League football. He's going to be a big reason why we achieve that, and we need him back and firing as soon as possible. So for me, that stuff family related, doesn't watch it. If he's got a newborn in the house and he's not sleeping and stuff, which isn't happening yet, fine, you can maybe argue that, but that's not happening right now. So for me, he's performed that, and even that shouldn't stop him being able to trap a ball. Italian international, top level elite player, should be able to be trapping a ball and making a 5-yard pass and not giving it away. There was one time in the first half, the ball gets cleared from a Newcastle corner, gets cleared up into the air, and it just this little back heel type flick that literally gives it straight to the players, and they're on the counter attack. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I've got my hands on my head. I'm going, who is this guy? Who is he? I don't recognise him. But I am really concerned about Sandro. I'll let you boys kind of jump in on this, and Chris talk about the table, because I want to talk about the manager as well, but I'll come back to that in a second.
Well, let's go back to you then, Chris, and let's look at the table. But before you do, though, maybe I just want to say something here as well, because I have a feeling I know which direction you're going to go in, Chris, but I'm going to shut it down. Because I agree. On paper, yes, we can go on and on and on, and we can be up there towards Champions League position, but I cannot see it happening, because it's just been too... It's not been our season for that. Yes, all for hope and positivity, but I'm not going to fool myself into thinking that we're going to get Champions League. I've ruled it out previously. I'm going to continue to rule it. But go on, give us a positivity, Chris.
No. Do you know what does? And I always try and stay as positive as possible, don't I? But like the biggest positive thing for me to say is the fact that we are within touching distance. So as you can see, we're 4 points off fifth now. It's 6 points off fourth. Now that is a real positive. The problem is we're exactly halfway through the season. We're on 19 games. We've played half the season. But am I confident that we can turn this round and pick up the required points? I would say at this moment probably not. Now, I think the January window, which obviously opens tomorrow, is going to be huge. I think it was Pete who mentioned on the last show, we need to strike early. Do I have confidence that we're going to strike early? Again, probably not. And this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, if you'd have said to me if you'd have said to me at the start of the season, this is the league table at the halfway point, whilst I would be encouraged at the fact that we're not completely off top 5, I would be saying, well, why are we sitting in 10th? Why aren't we doing better? Why are the likes of Everton and Sunderland above us, Man United even? And that's my biggest concern. The fact that there's still an opportunity does give me hope. It does give me hope, because really, boys, if we're being honest, if any teams could show a little bit of consistency, we should be 12, 13, 14, 15 points off top 5. That's just the reality. It's only the fact that, you know, there's only been 2, maybe 3 teams who've been really consistent this season, and everybody else is dropping points. Like Man United go and beat us and then draw at home to Wolves. Do you know what I mean? That just tells you exactly where the season's at the moment. Everton picking up really good points. We go and slap Everton at the Hill Dickinson 4-1. Sunderland beat us in the derby. There's so many games where you look and you think, bloody hell, we should have done better there. Brentford even. Obviously, we had that defeat to Brentford. We had the defeat to West Ham. It's just so frustrating. The thing that I'm going in positive with is the fact that I'm open that we can get some kind of form going. And let's be honest, boys, all we've got to do is just be the best of the rest. The top 3 for me now are out of sight. You could even argue top 4. I think Liverpool will kick on. You could argue the top 4 are out of sight. It's that 5th spot. And again, looking at the results yesterday, Chelsea drawing to Bournemouth. You know what I mean? Bournemouth are getting beat by most teams at the minute. They go and drop two valuable points. If Chelsea had won that game, we'd be looking now going with 6 points. 6 points off top 5, which is arguably where we should be. If Man United would have won, we'd be saying we're 6 points off top 5. So sooner or later, this is going to, that gap will start expanding, but we've just got to make sure that we're within that. And have we got the opportunity to? Absolutely, because we've got 2 very winnable home games coming up. Very, very winnable. If we go and win those 2 games, we might be having a different conversation. If we continue to drop points, if we continue not to win games or to lose, we're probably going to end up roughly where we are now. If we carry on the way we are, we're going to end up roughly where we are now, maybe slightly higher. We might creep into the Europa Conference qualification. You never know. But is that going to be good enough? Is that going to be, where we wanted to be at the start of the season? The frustrating thing for me is, given the transfer window that we had, which now it turns out, wasn't as strong as maybe we'd hoped, we should be kicking on. I know we've lost a really, really big name in the summer, which we won't talk about. But the impact that has had on the team, on the way we play, everything has been far greater than what I think any of us could have anticipated. And let's not forget, boys, it's not just that player or that position. You're seeing it across the pitch. That doesn't give excuses for the centre of midfield, in my opinion. It doesn't give excuses for the drop-offs in certain performances from individuals. But it's about how we can turn it around, how we can get back on track. Does it take a January signing? Who knows? We've known in the past, January signings have turned not just our seasons around, but other teams' seasons around as well. We saw Aston Villa last season, with the inclusion of the likes of Rashford, the likes of Asensio. That made a huge difference for them. The gambles. I hope that we do that, and I hope that we do try and kick on. The one bit of positivity I'll leave it on, boys, is we're still within touching distance. And the teams above us, we should be finishing above them. Will we finish above them? I don't know.
Thanks, Chris. For me on the table as well, just one last thing I want to say on the table. The target for me that I'm setting, Eddie Howe, my own personal target that he's willing to accept this one, is that Newcastle have to finish above everyone here, obviously, but also above Brentford, Everton, Sunderland, and Man United. And then it's a roll of the dice, and to try and do something to oust Chelsea. And that also depends on Chelsea. But for me, the target for Eddie is to from where we are and how the season's gone is to try and not even to try to finish 6th, because and then anything else above that is a bonus. But that's what I want to see happen, and because that means that we're picking up away wins as well as picking up home wins, and we've improved on what we've seen to date in the league, and then he's in contention for stay on, I suppose. But right, that's enough of the table. Pete, do you want to have your comment on Eddie Howe, or are we going to go to questions and comments?
Yeah, there was a few people on social media, people put it in various different comments, making reference to Eddie Howe has lost the dressing room. I know you talked about the Yoane Wissa thing, Chris, at the end of the game, hugging Eddie Howe. I watched at the end of that game, and I saw a number of players make a beeline for Eddie Howe, giving him big hugs. He's got his arm around the likes of Bruno, Joelinton. He has a real big embrace with Joelinton after the game. Joelinton makes a beeline for him. Yoane Wissa makes a beeline for him, hugs him on 2 or 3 occasions, and they have a little embrace. He does it with a number of other players. That's not a manager that's lost the dressing room for me. That's a manager that has the dressing room, that things aren't going right on the pitch right now. We're having a difficult moment, but if anyone's questioning the fact that Eddie Howe has lost the dressing room, you only have to see that reaction at the end of the game. These boys want to play for Eddie Howe. These boys want the best for Newcastle United. They might not be putting it on the pitch right now, but these boys want to play for Newcastle United. They want to do their absolute best for the manager, and that is not in question for me, having what I saw last night. It may have been for a few people, but that certainly changed it for me. If anything, that embrace, and you look at those pictures afterwards in the changing rooms, that's not a team that's lost faith in the management and the management team. That's a group of players that are still fighting for the cause. Teams have down moments. I'm frustrated. We're all frustrated. We want to see them play better football. We want to see a better run of results. Absolutely, we all do, and we're right to question it and have justification on it. But the reality is that these boys are having a difficult moment. They are. Difficult summer, difficult season so far. I said to you boys, I think after a show the other day, Alexander Isak leaving has had a bigger impact on this team than I even imagined. And it's only really now that I think people are realising how big he was for the setup and the way in which we play in this team. And I think we're really starting to feel it now. But we will come out of that, and we will find a different way of playing, and we will be able to get back on that horse, and we'll be able to start playing the way we want to play, whether it's now, whether it's next week or in a few weeks' time. Of course, we want it as soon as possible. But the manager has not lost these players. The manager is still trying to work on getting this team as effective and as potent as it was previously with our former striker in the team. But we will get there. We will get there at some point. And so, yeah, it's changed my mindset a little bit on this situation with Eddie Howe. I thought that was really, really telling that the boys did that. They didn't have to. They didn't need to. But they did it because they wanted to. It wasn't for the cameras. It wasn't for anyone else. It was for the fact that they wanted to show them. They wanted to show the manager that they're doing this for him. And I thought, you know what, it was really, really good to see. From a fan perspective, it was really, really good to see. It was a really good embrace with a number of those players. And it told me a lot in that moment after the game.
It's a start, and we need to build on that now and get back-to-back wins with Palace coming up in the new year. Boys, let's go to some comments and questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Big shout out to Novo, who's just become a member. Thank you very much, Novo. Top man.
Again,
he's back. He's back again. Let's see, boys. We did have a couple of super chats, so I want to come to those first. Let's go with Stephen first. Stephen, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. Stephen says, don't sugarcoat things. It was Burnley, for God's sake, lads. And Stephen, this is exactly what we're saying. Obviously delighted with the 3 points. Delighted that, we've kept in touch with the other teams who won this weekend. But, it's Burnley. And this is why we haven't got the shades on, Stephen. We can't go overboard because... it wasn't the perfect performance, but ultimately we got the 3 points, and that was the main thing. And yeah, the proof will be in the pudding when we come up against other teams, which, you know, we've got, so as we mentioned earlier, we've got some very winnable games coming up, and it's very, very important for us to try and back that up and get 3, 4, 5 games on the bounce. Hopefully we can, and the league table will look a lot better if we do manage to do that as well.
It's also not drawn at home against Wolves, even Man United, or more than Man United, I should say. So, yeah, we'll take our victory.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting one from Andy H. And this is a question, boys, so we'll have to have a little think about this, okay? Lads, you've allowed one late Christmas present each to improve our squad. So 3 players. So I think he's asking us all to name a player. Who are you picking? And they must be realistic signings. So, boys, we're gonna have to get our thinking caps on here. So, between the 3 of us, what 3 positions are we saying in January that we need to improve upon? What would be the three positions, and then we can try and work out a player for each one.
We said at least a midfielder, depending whether it's central midfielder, an attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder, and we also said a left back, some left back cover. Then we're also pointing towards a striker, and I know Keith Downey said it when he was on with you guys as well. That, but I don't know. We covered a lot of players, or some of the players that we were rumored with on our fully loaded transfer show. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. Actually, so some good discussion in that one. But who are you going for, boys? It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of just throw one name out there, to be honest. I think just off the top of my head, I think we need a fullback of some form, midfielder, and then an attacker, someone that can play across the middle. Across the front 3. I think we need to maybe get someone that can also play on the wing, as well as up front. Who those players are, I mean, you could throw some names out. There was a link yesterday with Nathan Ake. I'd take him at Newcastle. I'd absolutely take him. I think even at 30 years old, he's an experienced head, someone that could come in and play left back, could play centre back. It's a loan deal, so it's not committed in terms of a transfer fee. Something that we talked about on the Full Loaded Transfer Show. Should we go for a loan? I think we absolutely should. I know we've been linked with Dejan Muthali at Toulouse as the young left back, but I'd be honest with you, I'd be looking at going experienced in January. I know it's very short-termism, but I think needs must in terms of being able to salvage this season. I think experience to get us through. You're not having to go and make a huge outlay. For me, Nathan Ake can play both positions. I'd bring him in as experience. I'd be bringing Ruben Neves in midfield, someone that's good at set pieces, someone that can play the 6. So if Sandro is having an off day, you can put him at the 6, and you still got Bruno on the right, and you can still play Joelinton on the left, and you can still be functional in that style and the way you play. But as well as that, Ruben Neves can win a game on his own too. So I'd be bringing him in. And as a forward, that's maybe a little bit more difficult because it depends on whether you're looking for a striker or whether you're looking for a winger.
I'd like a forward who could play right wing. That's what I'd like personally. I'm still not happy with that right wing.
I'd maybe go where I've got experience in midfield and defence. I'd maybe go a little bit of the unknown. I'd still like Newcastle United to go to Brazil and go and get Rayan, the young 19-year-old Brazilian. He can play right wing. He can play in the front line. I'd love Newcastle to go and sign him. That's just off the top of my head. I've not even thought from a forward perspective. But he's just someone that's a little bit different, a little bit exciting, and a little bit with the unknown that can produce a little bit of magic in the final third. I'd like that to happen potentially. So yeah.
Right, for me, thinking back to the players you talked about the fully loaded transfer show, and I don't think we're going to get any Schmidt as we talked about. So I would like to see us go for that guy, Luciano Valente, the guy we talked about on that show. He's a bit of a playmaker. He's definitely an unknown a gamble, but he wouldn't be a massive expense. I think it's interesting to see what he could do in a Newcastle squad. And as I said, he's exciting to watch, and someone that could unlock a low block. Other than that, it'd be I think that Lamine Kamara, it looks class as well. And as we said, that he's strong, he's built for the Premier League. So I'm looking at midfield more so than anything else. I'm happy to go with that Ryland guy that from Brazil, even though I don't know an awful lot about him. But yeah, I'm going to concentrate on midfield and fix a few holes there. But it was great to see Joelinton back to his best. Can Joelinton put back-to-back performances in now as well? Is going to be the question.
Yeah, I mean, just to throw maybe a couple of different names in. How realistic they are, I don't know. But for me, I'd like to see us go for maybe Ederson from Atalanta. I'd love to see Ederson come in. He's going to cost a lot of money. Will Atalanta want to sell him in January? Probably not. Another one as a curveball. I'd love to see us go for someone like Kobbie Mainoo. I don't know whether Man United would sell us Kobbie Mainoo. Probably not. But if there was a possibility of bringing him in, I think that'd be interesting. Because I do think that there is a player in there. So Kobbie Mainoo would be one I'd potentially look at, whether we could do a loan with an obligation or something. I'm not sure. In terms of the wings, now I watched the video, boys. I'm going to forward it to you later. It came up on my timeline, and it was a video all about Atom Ben Arthur. And there was
surprise.
Region, bring him back.
Oh my God! Like his trials and tribulations, and it showed, some of the stuff that he's done over his career. And it's just like the talent was just unbelievable. So when you boys were mentioning Ryan, I'd just love, from an attacking point of view, I would just love to bring in a bit of an unknown quantity. Someone who's a bit of a maverick. Yes, they'll frustrate the living daylights out of you, but they can produce that moment of magic. And I would love us to bring in a forward like that who is a little bit unconventional, a little bit, you're not quite sure what you're going to get, but they'll have you on the edge of your seat. I'd love to see a forward player like that come in. So yeah, I would say that. And then in terms of the defence, that Meffley, I think he looks, the real deal. I think he looks someone who you could get excited about. But as you mentioned yesterday, Pete, the Nathan Ake deal, I think if you can get him on a loan deal, I think that's a really shrewd bit of business. And obviously, as we know, he can play centre back, he can play left back. He's played under Eddie Howe before. He knows the Premier League. I think there'd be far worse signings out there. But ultimately, boys, and we've not even mentioned the goalkeeper, but I think that's one for the summer. I think that is one for the summer. I think we're going to see Nick Pope out for the rest of the season. What we need in the summer, I need to see a new number one in the summer. I really, really do. Really, really do. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question, Andy, and you see.
I think Ramsdale's gone now.
I do.
I think Ramsdale as a potential signing in the summer. I think that's not even a question anymore. I think he'll go back to Southampton and probably get sold to another Premier League club in the summer some way. So I think you're right there. Just one player that someone asked me about him the other day, actually, in terms of how he's getting on. Jonathan David's having a real stinker at Juventus. Potential there to bring someone like him in. It's a forward, but he's someone that can play off the wide area. He doesn't do it very often. I'm going to throw another wide player at you boys, and I'll keep my opinion to myself for now. But I'm going to throw this one at you because somebody mentioned it. Where is it?
and he's in the press a lot, and it could have implications on what we want to do as well. But Wolsey says, "What do you lads think about Johnson from Spurs? Do you think we should bring him in? He's a good goal scorer."
When I saw that talk of that move yesterday, my thing that came into my head was Andres Townsend. He just kind of has that kind of vibe about him that he little pockets of brilliance, but not much. And I'm glad we're not getting involved with Brendan Johnson. Okay, you could no. I'm going to go with the comparison that I've made there. So. No, I would not look at bringing him in. Isn't it like 33 million or something like that? Has been the fee being talked about.
35.
35.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I want Brennan Johnson nowhere near Newcastle United.
Yeah.
I do not rate that guy at all. I think he's a dreadful player. If people are hammering Alanga for being all pace, Brennan Johnson is all pace. What did Forest get from him? They got around 50 million they paid for him.
Yeah.
I don't know how Forest got some outstanding business from Johnson and Alanga. 102 million, 105 million for the both of them. That's outstanding business. He's really not a good player. And you know what? Fair play to Spurs. I can't believe I'm saying it, but fair play to Spurs. They paid 50 for him, and they're still getting 35 million out of Palace for him. And I think I said it to you boys, is that if Spurs are able to get 35 million out of Brennan Johnson, we should be able to get 25 million out of Willock if we're moving Willock on, because I don't see too much dissimilar in terms of ability wise. Of course, they're different positions. So I'm not saying, Willock's a right winger or a left winger, because he's not. But in terms of their ability wise for their own positions, they're not too dissimilar. So yeah, I was looking at that more of good business for Spurs, and can we get a decent fee for Willock rather than it being a good money deal for Palace, because I don't think it is, personally. But if Palace want to overpay again, Joseph Willock, please. Let's do a deal.
Shop window.
Definitely. I'll be honest, when I saw this 35 million for Brennan Johnson, I was thinking, well, surely Jacob Murphy's got to be worth 25, surely. Because 35 million for Brennan Johnson, I think it's crazy. Crazy business. But fair play, as you say, Pete, to Spurs for getting the money in for him. That's a huge fee. And obviously the 50 million helps in the sense that Spurs are going, we'll be paid 50, so we're not going to sell them for a ridiculously low figure. But for Palace to go out and spend that, it's huge. Honestly, if I was Newcastle, I'd be ringing Palace now and going, what about 25 million for Jacob Murphy? That's what I'd be doing, because that's a huge fee, absolutely huge fee. Right, a couple of well wishes, boys. We love a well wish. Joelinton for life, thank you so much, mate. Wishing you lad happy and healthy 2026. Thank you so much, mate. And obviously we wish you and yours exactly the same, mate. Exactly the same. And we also have
Joelinton for life.
We had a lovely message here as well from Mandy. Mandy says, just want to say all the best, lads. Just love your podcast, and to everyone in the chat. Lovely, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy.
Cheers, Mandy.
Right, let me see. Okay, so Stephen, thank you so much again for the super chat, mate. Stephen says, J7 leaves. Is it a must to buy a Brazilian for Bruno? So we mentioned Ederson earlier, Stephen. You'll remember me mentioning Ederson earlier. But somebody else put something about Joelinton. I wanted to pop this in because I did have a little moment myself, and I was a bit like, "Ooh, actually, was that?" Let me just find it. Where is it?
Oh, I know what you're going to say now.
Oh, it came up on. I had it before.
Here
we go. There it is.
Yeah, go on.
Jimmy Watt says at full time, did anyone think that was Joelinton saying goodbye? I hope not. Because Eddie Howe, you might, Pete, Joelinton embraced Eddie Howe, didn't he? And Eddie Howe had his arm over his shoulder and all that. And I don't know. Did you boys get that sense as well?
No, I didn't see that bit. I did see his kind of interview at the end, saying that we know the performances have to pick up now and stuff. But I'm still, even after giving my man of the match, but I'm still willing, if an offer from Saudi of 50 million or something like that came in, I would snap their hand off for that, because he's on the decline, and I think if we got a decent offer, I definitely take it. He was immense though yesterday, but we need to bring in someone that can do something similar that Joelinton can do, especially the good bits. So, but I didn't see that bit about him looking like he's saying goodbye.
And Pete, just before I come to you on this, I read somewhere that apparently we have to sell to a non-PIF club in order for the funds to be taken into account for PSR. I don't know how true that is. Wow. Yeah, apparently. I don't know how true that is. I don't know whether that was just somebody stirring the pot. I don't know. But what were your thoughts on Joelinton as well?
Yeah, I've heard that as well about like something to do with the funds being affected because it's from a PIF club. But didn't we sell it ASM to a PIF?
And we're trying to sell Miggy.
Yeah, and there was no talk of that. There was no talk of that when ASM went to. I'm sure ASM went to.
Ali, it was.
Yeah. So
PIF.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. They are, and so there was no talk about it then. So all of a sudden, it's a conversation now. I've got no idea. Don't really care, to be honest. But I personally didn't see it as a goodbye. I saw him and Bruno. I think they were trying to recognise someone in the crowd and were kind of like waving to people in the crowd that they recognise. That's how I saw it. For me though, Joelinton only leaves if we get our first choice, like summer-esque type signing in January. You got to replace like for like. If you're replacing Joelinton, who, let's face it, is a starting midfielder when on form in Newcastle United, when he's playing well, he is a guaranteed starter. So if you're going to lose someone like that in January, you have to replace it with someone that is going to come in as your first choice. So you're going to need to have a quite a big outlay in your midfield like signing, because getting a Ruben Neves to replace a Joelinton isn't the same unless you're moving Sandro into the left hand side of midfield, which I probably wouldn't do personally. So you're going to have to go out and get a very similar type of ID of a midfielder. So look, I'm not against him moving on, providing we get the right money for it. But for me, the most important thing would be who's coming in to replace him, which is why I'll be honest with you, lads, I think it's probably more of a conversation for the summer than it is right now. I think he'll probably stay out the season. I saw the stuff after the game, and I talked about the embrace with Joelinton. I saw it as a moment for Joelinton. I think it was a moment where he knew he'd had a good game, and Eddie Howe almost putting his arm around him, saying, "Yeah, you were class today. You were really, really good. You're a big reason why we won. So keep that up. Well done to you." Like a bit of man management. It was a man management moment for me with those two, and I think the acknowledgement to the fans were, I imagine, family that were in the away end. Nothing more than that, but could be wrong. Just my opinion on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I think ultimately the money has to be put on the table. And if the money's not put on the table, it will give Newcastle United a decision to make if that money is put on the table in January. But as you say, Pete, we can't go into the rest of the season, the second half of the season, depleted. So if they were to do it, Newcastle would then have to make sure that they've got a player ready-made to come in. And hopefully Ross Wilson has been collating a list of possible central midfielders, so hopefully that is the case. Right, let me see. Where am I going to go next? Yeah, just to touch on what we mentioned earlier, RJW Mag. Did anyone see Wissa and Eddie hugging after the Bruno goal? Didn't see that once with the rat in 3 years. Wissa loves the tune. So yeah, nice. There was a lot of hugging going on yesterday. A lot of hugging, and much needed.
And even between J7 and Kyle Walker as well.
Right, let me see. This is an interesting question, boys. This one is an interesting one. From Colton Connor. 2 questions. Is this just a paper performance, or is this our turning point in the season?
Answers on a postcard, because we won't know until after we see a few results in the next few weeks. We have a big January ahead of us. We lost Chris. Massive January ahead of us. So we will see what happens next.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere, though. So this is our starting point.
Well, this was the thing with regards to the embrace. So from the last question that was up on the screen, we were talking about the embracing of Joelinton, etc., etc. Well, for me, that could have been why the players were embracing the manager and embracing each other after the game, because they might have seen it as their turning point. So the fact that Carlton, you've mentioned that, is this a turning point? It quite well could be. And maybe the fact that players recognise that, which is why they were embracing each other and reacting the way they were after the game, because obviously it was a big win away from home with all the scrutiny they've had, and quite rightly so, by the way. That could have been, right, this is our turning point now. We need to make something of it. Obviously, they've got to go and prove it. Palace at the weekend, etc., etc. But it could well be the turning point. And look, let's be honest, Carlton, and I think we'd all agree with this. We pray that it is. We need it to be the turning point in our season. We absolutely do. So, as we lose Chris again. But ultimately, we'll know a little bit more when we play Palace on I think, Sunday. So.
Well, let's go to another question while we wait for Chris to return. And maybe you might know a bit more about this, Pete, but we're all kind of waiting. What's happening with Botman?
Yeah, it's a look. He's obviously had his injection, whatever. You don't want to be rushing him back whilst you've got 2 fit centre backs in Chow and Shaw. I do have a question mark on Shaw, if I'm being honest with you, long term. I don't know about anybody else, but I just feel a little bit uncomfortable with him in defensive moments. With the ball at his feet, he's great. And he pings balls around and he creates attacking moments, which is good. But in defensive moments, I just feel a little bit unsure with Shaw at the moment. He doesn't look as assured and as solid as he normally does. So maybe that's because he's playing on the left and he'd rather play on the right. But I wouldn't play Chow on the left. Chow needs to play in his rightful position on the right-hand side. So obviously Shaw's maybe coming in and playing in a position that he's not fully comfortable with. So that might be part of it. But defensively, he doesn't look as sound as he had previously. We want Botman back as soon as possible. We want Burn back as soon as possible. But ultimately, you don't want them coming back at 70%. You want to know that if Sven Botman's coming back, that he's going to be back long term and he's going to get a good run of games under his belt. A lot of people have thrown a lot of stick at Sven Botman recently, and rightly so to a point, because they're worried about his long-term injury record. What I will argue, and I have argued with certain, like with Newcastle fans that I know and I speak to on a regular, is that this is Sven Botman's first injury this season. It took until December for him to pick up his first injury. Now, he's been out 3 or 4 weeks, which is not ideal. We don't want him out for this length of time. But if it means that he comes back 100%, and it means that we get him for the rest of this season, then you'll take it. Where I will have concerns about Sven Botman is if he comes back and he's then injured again, and he gets those 2 or 3 more niggly injuries between now and the end of the season. We can't afford that. And that might be why the club are maybe, there's talk of us being in contact with him with a new contract, but maybe that's why things haven't been rubber stamped yet, because they need to see a level of, commitment on the pitch, regularly seen in play, and not having all these niggly injury problems. Because if he gets a new contract, he's going to be paid a hell of a lot of money, because he is effectively a starting left centre-back when fit and ready. So we'll get paid handsomely for it, but we need to know that he's going to be actually on the pitch to be able to play for Newcastle United. So it is a bit of a balancing act at the moment, but ultimately we need to make sure he's back 100%. So we just need to be patient with that for a little bit longer. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the squad for Palace, if I'm being honest, and then maybe get his first start against Bournemouth in the FA Cup. Maybe that's the plan with him. Remember, we've got James Bunsen. He's very particular about players coming back with injury, making sure they're 100%. So there's that element back. I think if it was Eddie Howe, would have probably already seen him in the squad by now. So there is that level of player management. But let's hope that when he is back, he's 100% fit and he's back ready to play. So that's all I'll kind of say on Sven Botman for now. It won't be long, but let's see him get a proper run of games now.
Let's do a few more. Daniel says, do you really think Eddie dresses certain players down? He says, I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if he's lost respect from the others for not doing so, which looks the way we've been playing. For me on this one, I think he does, but he does his business behind closed doors. He's not going to throw anyone under the bus, even when he was talking about the game and where we're saying where we lost control at that point, the middle point of the game after being 2-0 up. He says he wants to focus on the positives because we've had a lot of negatives recently. Let's when we win, he wants to focus on the positives. But he'll do his analysis. He'll watch the game back. He'll be picking up different things, and he might in certain games, I'm sure, and in certain outcomes, he will give a bollocking to players. But other times, he'd sit them down and explain what he expects from players, and if that will contribute towards someone not starting maybe the next game. So that's my thoughts. But what's your thoughts there, Pete?
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's not even about us having an opinion on it. For me, I think the players have said it. The players have said it in interviews. Like Eddie Howe, like he's not afraid to tell them about themselves, but he does it in the changing rooms, and he does it where the cameras aren't there and where it's not obvious. Like that's already been said by players, so we know it happens. And he does dress them down, and I would be shocked if he wasn't absolutely fuming at times in recent games where players have underperformed, where players have caused mistakes that have lost us games or lost us points. I imagine he's properly hammered the team with performances that haven't been to a certain level. But you're not going to. Eddie Howe's a private person. He's not going to want those things getting seeped out. We already know in the last 4 years, Eddie Howe will let out information that he wants to let out. What comes out to public knowledge and fan knowledge is stuff that he wants to have out. When things have come out that he's not been happy with, like, for example, the Bruno G, it was a mess comment. He was very, very quick to kind of cut that off and go, nah, don't agree with that. And he kind of cut that out because he wants a certain message coming out of his club. We're not necessarily going to hear about it, but doesn't mean that it's not happening. And I fully expect that Eddie Howe is dressing down certain players, which is why I said about Tonali. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been pulled in for a conversation to go, that really wasn't good enough last night. We need better from you. And players do need that. It's obviously a balancing act. You don't want to lose a player. You don't want to lose a player's head completely where they're not in it. But at the same time, they need to be told that things need to be better. So there's a balance there. And every good manager has a balance and has a know-how on how to approach certain players. Certain managers will target certain players. Certain managers will know that they have to raise their voice to certain players, whereas other players will need an arm around them. Yeah, it's the kind of uniqueness of what football management is.
Like teaching as well, Pete, I'm sure. It's the same effect.
yeah, you're
right. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't quite know what happened there, but never mind. But we've got a few questions that we can group together, but I'm going to come to this one first. Okay, so this one came in early from Teddy Bilton, and Teddy Bilton says, I'm going to rock the boat a little bit here. And we love this, by the way, Teddy. We love this. But do any of you three go the games or just make YouTube videos? Yeah, now, Teddy, back in the day, mate, going to games was not a problem. We used to go to a hell of a lot of games. So when we were shit, basically, some people will say we're shit now, but when we were really shit, used to go to a lot of games, mate. But unfortunately, tickets now are incredibly hard to come by. And to borrow a phrase from Liverpool, Trying to get a ticket for the Newcastle game is like it's like trying to get shit out of a rocking horse. Very, very difficult, mate. Very, very difficult. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't go to as many games as what we'd like. But yeah, so that kind of answers the question. I don't know whether you boys want to expand on that at all.
Yeah, for me, it's like back in the day, I got to go to one game every so often, and the last couple of seasons I've got to go to 2 games a season. But I live in Ireland, so it makes it a bit difficult as well, and expensive, because you're not gonna. Well, I did actually we did do a day trip, and it was a week for. Nearly did a 24-hour shift just to get over for a Spurs game, which we won actually. So it made it all worthwhile. But yeah, and we do try and get a game together as well now. But again, like Chris says, it's very difficult to either win tickets in the ballot and even get hospitality tickets. The goalkeeper posts keep changing on us. So, but yeah, we get to, whenever it's possible, we try to get to a game or 2.
Yeah, get to as many games as I can possibly get to. Obviously, going back from the 90s, used to travel with my brother all the time, away games, home games. I had a season ticket in the early 2000s. We used to travel all the time. Me and my mates used to go to all the games, like you said, under Mike Ashley, when tickets were readily available, where people didn't want to go to matches. We were there all the time, home and away. But obviously now it's a hell of a lot more difficult to get tickets for matches, ballots, etc., etc. If I could be there every week, I would. Obviously, got to manage a family and a mortgage and your work-life balance, and being able to get to matches is incredibly difficult. But where I can, I will try and get a ticket, and I'll try and be at the games. It might not be as often as I used to be able to, which is a frustration to me, because I'd like to go a hell of a lot more. When the kids are a little bit older, I think it might be a little bit more easier for me to do so. But yeah, try and do as much as we can. There's no doubt between now and then the season will be a number of games that I'll be at for sure, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the 3 of us, where we can actually go together before the end of the season. So yeah, we don't just do YouTube videos. What this does allow us to do, and I'm sorry I forgot the person that put the comment up on the screen. What this does allow us to do is to be closer to like-minded Newcastle fans. What this has allowed us to do over the last 5 years is to engage and mix with Newcastle fans that aren't maybe as lucky as us, that get to a few games in a season, that can't get to a game at all, maybe live the other side of the world, or maybe don't have the money to be able to get to matches, because that's one thing as well. Sometimes people financially just can't afford it, especially in this day and age. So what it does, it allows us to have a conversation about Newcastle, to keep Newcastle on the mind, have a little bit of therapy when things aren't going well, but also celebrate the good moments too. And this allows us to do that with like-minded fans. I've never interacted with as many Newcastle fans across the world as we have in the 5 years that we've been doing this, and it's an absolute pleasure. So for you guys, it might be just for us making YouTube videos, but actually it's just like being in a pub, sometimes with a brandy, sometimes with a cup of tea, and we're just having a chat about Newcastle United, and this is the beauty of it. People remember this. We're not full-time. There are other channels out there that do full-time stuff every day. We have to work around the fact that we have a job, and we have to work, and we have to do other things in life, and we do as much as we can when we can.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. Thank you very much to Andy H NUFC for becoming a loaded ultra. Thank you so much, Andy.
That's Andy.
Really appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Right. I wasn't sure whether we were going to go there, boys, but I feel like we have to, because a lot of people are asking this question or similar questions. So I'm going to group them all together. Jay says, "What's your thoughts on Gordon's body language? He doesn't look interested." Daniel says, "Good source said that Slot apparently stopped the Gordon deal as he didn't want him. So it's about time Gordon got that move out of his head and remembered what his level is. He's peaked at an England call-up." Daniel also says, "We all want Gordon to be put on the right wing, but imagine the shit he'd leave Miley in not helping. The kid's untouchable and his ego is way bigger than it deserves to be." Quinny says, and I agree with this, Quinny, wholeheartedly, that Gordon's shot over the bar naffed me right off. It was a dreadful shot. Yeah, we were talking about that in the chat, weren't we, boys? And Ridgway makes a good point. He said short hair Gordon was so much better. So maybe for 2026, Anthony Gordon needs to cut his hair. Yeah. Maybe that's the answer to all our problems. But Daz, kick us off, mate. Where are you with Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, for me again, I want more from Gordon, but at the same time, in the last little while, he's not been playing too badly. You're forgetting that give and go with the right at the start of the game with Char. He created that with a nice pass from Char. Then he the cross into J7 to finish. He did similar. It was in the Chelsea game. Like the Chelsea game, he was unplayable for that first 45 minutes. He was fucking lifting the World Cup. He was for England. Never mind getting into the squad. He was that good for that first 45 minutes. So we just consistency and to get to that kind of a level if possible in a full game. So I'm not throwing Gordon under the bus. Yes, I see the things everyone's commenting on as well, and I do get where they're going with that. But it was more in the last couple of weeks. But recently he's been okay for me. So I'm not gonna have a go at him.
Pete, what are your thoughts on Gordon?
My thoughts are the same thoughts I've had for the last year. Nothing's changed. The regular watchers of the channel will see this as what they've always heard. Anthony Gordon is massively inconsistent for Newcastle United, mostly out of form than in form. That's his right. It's been a little bit better recently, but we still haven't seen a 90 minutes of Anthony Gordon since the Benfica game. That was probably the closest 90 minutes I've seen to Anthony Gordon being the Anthony Gordon that we know from the first full season that he had at the club. And for a lad that's paid one of the most in terms of wages in the whole squad, we need more. If you're going to be considered one of the best players in the team, you need to perform like it. You need to perform on a regular basis. You know, if Anthony Gordon had performed anything like Bruno Guimaraes in being a clutch player and bringing up moments that are helping to win his matches, we'd be on a hell of a lot more points than we currently are right now. And that's just the reality. That's the reality of it. And we're not seeing enough from him. And we have to. We can't afford to invest so much money in a player and him turn up when he wants to. And he runs back when he wants to, and he produces moments when he wants to. That's not what top players do. You know, he wants to be in the England squad. He wants to go to the World Cup where you got to prove it week in, week out. You can't just prove it in one or two odd moments. It's not enough. So yes, good moment for the goal for Joelinton. But I need to see that 3, 4, 5 times in a game where he's producing really, really good moments and it being consistent. And it needs to be over 90 minutes. So I'm going to reserve judgment on on Anthony Gordon until I see that consistently for 90 minutes, which, again, as I said, not seen for over a year.
Yeah. I a lot of my blue mates, Everton fans, did warn me about this of Anthony Gordon. And obviously we saw at the start of his Newcastle career, so the first 6 months he was a bit in and out. Then he had a fantastic season. But unfortunately he's not been able to replicate that. And I think you summarised it well, Pete, by saying we need more, because we do. We need more. Hopefully he can provide more in the second half of this season, but we will see. We will see. Yeah. Right. Where are we now? Last one, boys. I'm going to pair all of these together. And there's an interesting question at the end. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. So Andrew Ford says, we've played 28 games competitively so far this season. Only 3 times have I actually felt comfortable watching us against USG in the Champions League, against Benfica in the Champions League, and also a freak result at Everton. And then he's put, I do not recognise us. And then DXLENCL says probably 18 to 20 Premier League teams score 1, 2, or 3 in that period of 45 to 70 against us. We were lucky last night. We were playing one of the two that probably couldn't. And distracted Hodgson summarises this, and this is going to be my question to you boys. If that game went 2-2 last night, do you think we would have won? It's a good question.
Well, they could so well have done because there were so many chances. Plus, in the game just about 3 weeks ago against Burnley, they nearly scored at the very last kick of the game. So yes, this could have been a totally different show. I think we could have won, but who knows? It's coulda, shoulda, woulda situation. And back to the first of those three questions, Chris. I think it said about not recognizing us, but I kind of link back to what Pete said in the middle of the show, like the whole Isak transfer and how it happened, how it played out, and us looking at multiple striking options and having to go further down our list because that's what did happen. We're looking at Strand Larson at one point, and he can't score these days for Wolves. It's had an effect both mentally and on how we play as well. So this is the first time that we've lost a key man. In our we're saying if we it's building on what we had to reshuffle everything. We're not there yet. It's going to take time, but let's see it through.
Can I just say just in addition to what Daz has said, I think you made a really good point. Bringing up the Isak thing again, it just goes to show that when we were going mad about potentially losing Gordon or losing somebody else, it just goes to show that it wouldn't have actually been that bad. We'd have been able to recover. So you kind of you go back to when we nearly lost Gordon in the PSR battle, and we ended up selling Elliot Anderson, which ended up being being the right thing for both him and us. We got the money for PSR. He would have never done what he'd have done for Newcastle United because he just wouldn't have played the regular football. But had we have lost Gordon, I don't think it would have been as bad. And, you think about what Liverpool fans might have been thinking about him now if he was turning in performances like this, they'd have been properly kicking off. So it just goes to show, it maybe losing a player of that level won't be the worst thing in the world. If we do lose Joelinton in January or the summer, would it be the worst thing in the world? Probably not. We'll be able to recover. But it just goes to show how important Isak was for this team. So what I'm saying it in a positive way, really. What I'm trying to say is that losing Isak was the pinnacle of losing a top level player. Maybe losing a Gordon or a Willock or a Barnes or a Joelinton may not be the worst thing. If it does eventually happen, is what I'm saying. We will recover. If we can recover from Alexander Isak, we can recover from pretty much any other player in the team being sold and moved on, which is not a bad thing. We'll have become hardened to it by then.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point as well, Pete, because because of being the first big loss to us or sale, it throws off the dynamics of it, and we were such a close family. It just alters everything, and I suppose in the players' minds is we could lose as someone else as well. So that all has to add into what has happened for this first half of the season. But it's how we progress with it moving forward is key, and that's where that kind of rebuilding what's broken has still to continue.
Yeah.
And we still have the same amount of goals as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, that's it for the questions, boys. That's it for the questions.
That's it for the show as well. This is the one thing left to say, and it's a happy new year to everyone that has watching this now, who's watched previous shows during the year, who's stick with us through the good times and bad on the shows. It's not always easy to come on when we have a loss. It's a bit easier when we have a win and we have something to celebrate. And hopefully we have something more to celebrate going into to 2026. So, but yeah, we will be back soon. Keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stick with us for the coming shows. I think there's been a lot of negativity and suggestion around Eddie Howe, and some of it rightly so, and some of it facts even. But we have to give him a chance as well. Let's see it through to the end of the season and see where we are then. So I'm proposing we play out with the Howe boys. And how'd you like that? Happy New Year.
Look to you all.
Have a good one.
How